Chapter 52. Characteristics of the Day of Judgment, Paradise and Hell. Abu Huraira reported Allah's Messenger as saying, a bulky person would be brought on the Day of Judgment, and he would not carry the weight to the eye of Allah, equal even to that of a gnat. Nor shall we set up a balance for them on the day of resurrection. XVIII 105. Abdullah bin Masud reported that a Jewish scholar came to Allah's apostle, may peace be upon him, and said, Muhammad, or Abu al-Qasim, verily Allah the Exalted and Glorious would carry the heavens on the day of judgment upon one finger, and earths upon one finger, and the mountains and trees upon one finger, and the ocean and the moist earth upon one finger, and in fact the whole of the creation upon one finger. And then he would stir them and say, I am your Lord, I am your Lord. Thereupon Allah's Messenger smiled, testifying what the scholar had said. He then recited this verse, and they honor not Allah with the honor due to him, and the whole earth will be in his grip on the day of resurrection, and the heaven rolled up in his right hand. Glory be to him, and highly exalted is he above what they associate with him. As-Sumar 67. This hadith has been narrated on the authority of Mansur with the same chain of transmission, and the words are, a Jew scholar came to Allah's Messenger. The rest of the hadith is the same, but there is no mention of then he would stir them, but there is this addition. I saw Allah's Messenger smiling so much that his front teeth appeared, and testifying him, the Jew scholar. Then Allah's Messenger recited the verse, and they honor not Allah with the honor due to him. XXXIX 67. Abdullah reported that a person from the people of the book came to Allah's apostle, may peace be upon him, and said, Abu al-Qasim, verily Allah holds the heavens upon one finger, and the earths upon one finger, and the trees and moist earth upon one finger, and in fact the whole of the creation upon one finger, and then say, I am the king, I am the king. And he, the narrator, further said, I saw Allah's Messenger smiling until his front teeth became visible, and then he recited the verse, and they measure not the power of Allah with his true measure. 39:67. This hadith has been narrated on the authority of Amas with the same chain of transmitters, but with a slight variation of wording. Abu Huraira reported Allah's apostle as saying, Allah the Exalted and Glorious will take in his grip the earth on the day of judgment, and he would roll up the sky in his right hand, and would say, I am the Lord. Where are the sovereigns of the world? Abdullah bin Umar reported Allah's Messenger saying, Allah the Exalted and Glorious would fold the heavens on the day of judgment, and then he would place them on his right hand and say, I am the Lord. Where are the haughty and where are the proud today? He would fold the earth, placing it on the left hand, and say, I am the Lord. Where are the haughty and where are the proud today? Abdullah bin Miqsam reported that he saw Abdullah bin Umar as he narrated Allah's Messenger as saying, Allah the Exalted and Glorious would take in his hand his heavens and his earth. and would say, I am Allah, and he would clench his fingers and then would open them and say, I am your Lord. I saw the pulpit in commotion from underneath because of something vibrating there, and I felt this commotion so much that I said to myself, it may not fall with Allah's messenger upon it. Abdullah b. Miqsam reported that Abdullah b. Umar reported, I saw Allah's messenger upon the pulpit, and he was saying that the mighty Lord, the exalted and glorious, would take hold of the heavens and earth in his hand. The rest of the hadith is the same. Chapter 1. The beginning of creation and the creation of Adam, peace be upon him. Abu Huraira reported that Allah's messenger took hold of my hands and said, Allah, the exalted and glorious, created the clay on Saturday, and he created the mountains on Sunday, and he created the trees on Monday, and he created the things entailing labor on Tuesday, and created light on Wednesday, and he caused the animals to spread on Thursday, and created Adam, peace be upon him, after Asr on Friday, the last creation at the last hour of the hours of Friday, between afternoon and night. This hadith is narrated through another chain of transmitters. Chapter 2. The resurrection and description of the earth on the day of resurrection. Sal b. Sa'd reported that Allah's messenger said, the people will be assembled on the day of resurrection on a white plain with a reddish thing like the loaf of white bread, with no mark set up for anyone. Aisha reported, I asked Allah's messenger about the words of Allah, the exalted and glorious, the day when the earth would be changed for another earth, and heaven would be changed for another heaven. XIV 48, and inquired Allah's messenger, where would the people be on that day? He said, they would be on the Sirat. Chapter 3. The welcoming feast of the people of paradise. Abu al-Sa'id Khudri reported Allah's messenger as saying that the earth would turn to be one single bread on the day of resurrection, and the Almighty would turn it in his hand, as one of you turns a loaf while on a journey. It will be a feast arranged in the honor of the people of paradise. He, the narrator, further narrated that a person from among the Jews came and he said, Abu al-Qasim, may the compassionate Lord be pleased with you. May I inform you about the feast arranged in honor of the people of paradise on the day of resurrection? He said, do it, of course. He said, the earth will become one single bread. Then Allah's messenger looked towards us and laughed until his molar teeth became visible. He then again said, may I inform you about that with which they would season it? He said, do it, of course. He said, their seasoning would be balim and fish. The companions of the Prophet said, what is this balam? He said, ox and fish, from whose excessive livers 70,000 people would be able to eat. Abu Huraira reported Allah's messenger as saying, if 10 scholars of the Jews would follow me, no Jews will be left upon the surface of the earth who would not embrace Islam. Chapter 4. The Jews asking the Prophet saw about the soul and the words of Allah, and they ask you concerning the ruh, the spirit. Abdullah bin Masud reported, as I was going along with Allah's apostle in a cultivable land, and he, the Holy Prophet, was walking with the support of a wood. A group of Jews happened to meet him. Some of them said to the others, "Ask him about the soul." They said, "What is your doubt about it? There is a possibility that you may ask him about anything, the answer of which you may not like." They said, "Ask him." So one amongst them asked him about the soul. Allah's messenger kept quiet, and he gave no reply, and I came to know that the revelation was being sent to him. So I stood at my place, and thus this revelation descended upon him. They ask thee about the soul. Say, the soul is by the commandment of my Lord, and of knowledge you are given but a little. XVI 58. Abdullah reported, I was walking along with Allah's apostle in a field of Medina. The rest of the hadith is the same, but there is a slight variation of wording. Abdullah reported that Allah's apostle was reclining against a tree in the garden. The rest of the hadith is the same, with a slight variation of wording. Kabab reported that Al-As bi Wa'il owed debt to me. I came to him in order to demand that. He said, I will never repay you unless you belie Muhammad. I said, I will never belie Muhammad until you die, and you are again raised up. He said, when I would be raised up after death, I would repay your debt when I would get my property and children back. Waqi said, this is how Al-Amas has narrated, and it was on this occasion that this verse was revealed. Hast thou seen him who disbelieves in our message and says, I shall certainly be given wealth and children? XIX 77. Up to he would come to us alone. XIX 80. This hadith has been narrated on the authority of Khabib through another chain of transmitters, and the words are, I in the pre-Islamic days used to work as an ironsmith. I did some work for Asbi Wa'il and came to him for getting the remuneration of my wages. Chapter 5. The words of Allah the Most High, and Allah would not punish them while you are amongst them. Anas bin Malik reported that Abu Jahl said, O Allah, if he is true, then shower upon us the volley of stones from the sky, or inflict upon us a grievous torment. And it was on this occasion that this verse was revealed. Allah would never torment them so long as you are amongst them, and Allah is not going to torment them as long as they seek forgiveness. And why is it that Allah should not torment them, and they prevent people from coming to the sacred mosque? VIII 34 to the end. Chapter 6. The words of Allah. Verily, man does transgress because he considers himself self-sufficient. Abu Huraira reported that Abu Jahl asked people whether Muhammad placed his face on the ground in their presence. It was said to him, yes, he said, by Lat and Uzza, if I were to see him do that, I would trample his neck, or I would smear his face with dust. He came to Allah's messenger as he was engaged in prayer and thought of trampling his neck. And the people say that he came near him but turned upon his heels and tried to repulse something with his hands. It was said to him, what is the matter with you? He said, there is between me and him a ditch of fire and terror and wings. Thereupon Allah's messenger may peace be upon him, said, "If he were to come near me, the angels would have torn him to pieces." Then Allah, the Exalted and Glorious, revealed this verse. The narrator said, "We do not know whether it is the hadith transmitted by Abu Huraira or something conveyed to him from another source. Nay, man is surely inordinate, because he looks upon himself as self-sufficient. Surely to thy Lord is the return. Hast thou seen him who forbids a servant when he prays? Seest thou if he is on the right way, or enjoins observance of piety? Seest thou if he Abjal denies and turns away? Knowest he not that Allah sees? Nay, if he desists not, we will seize him by the forelock, a lying sinful forelock. Then let him summon his council. We will summon the guards of the hell. Nay, obey not thou him." LCVI 6-19. Rather prostrate thyself. Ubaydullah made this addition. It was after this that prostration was enjoined upon, and Ibn Abd al-Allah made this addition, that by Nadia he meant his people. Chapter 7. The Smoke ad-Dukkan. Masruq reported, "We were sitting in the company of Abdullah, and he was lying on the bed, that a person came and said, 'Abd al-Rabmin, a storyteller at the gates of Kinda, says that the verse of the Quran which deals with the smoke implies that which is about to come, and it would hold the breath of the infidels and would inflict the believers with cold.' Thereupon Abdullah got up and said in anger, 'O people, fear Allah and say only that which one knows amongst you, and do not say which he does not know.' And he should simply say, 'Allah has the best knowledge, for he has the best knowledge amongst all of you.' It does not behove him to say that which he does not know. Allah has the best knowledge of it. Verily, Allah the Exalted and Glorious said to his Prophet to state, 'I do not ask from you any remuneration, and I am not the one to put you in trouble.' And when Allah's messenger saw people turning back from religion, he said, 'O Allah, afflict them with 7 famines, or as was done in the case of Yusuf, so they were afflicted with famine, by which they were forced to eat everything, until they were obliged to eat the hides and the dead bodies because of hunger. And every one of them looked towards the sky, and he found a smoke. And Abu Sufyan came and he said, Muhammad, you have come to command us to obey Allah and cement the ties of blood relation, whereas your people are undone. Supplicate Allah for Tilism. Thereupon Allah the Exalted and Glorious said, wait for the day when there would be clear smoke from the sky, which would envelop people, and that would be grievous torment. Up to the words, you are going to return to evil. If this verse implied the torment of the next life, could be the chastisement of the next life, be averted, as the Quran states, on the day when we seize them with the most violent seizing, surely we shall exact retribution. XLIV 16. The seizing in the hadith implies that of the day of Badr, and so far as the sign of smoke ceasing inevitability and signs of Rome are concerned, they have become things of the past now. Masruq reported that there came to Abdullah a person and said, "I have left behind in the mosque a man who explains the Quran according to his personal discretion," and he explained this verse: "So wait for the day when the heaven brings a clear smoke." He says that the smoke would come to the people on the day of resurrection, and it will withhold breath, and they would be inflicted with cold. Abdullah said, "He who has knowledge should say something, and he who has no knowledge should simply say, Allah is best aware." This reflects the understanding of a person that he should say about that which he does not know, that it is Allah who knows best. The fact is that when the Quraysh disobeyed Allah's apostle, he supplicated Allah that they should be afflicted with famine and starvation, as was done in case of Yusuf, and they were so much hard pressed that a person would gaze the sky and he would see between him and the sky something like smoke, and they were so much hard pressed that they began to cut the bones. And a person came to Allah's apostle and said, "Allah's messenger, seek forgiveness for the tribe of Mudar, for its people have been undone." The messenger said, "For Mudar you are overbold," but he supplicated Allah for them. It was upon this that this verse was revealed: "We shall remove the chastisement a little, but they will surely return to evil." XLIV 15. Lie, the narrator said, "There was a downpour of rain upon them. When there was some relief for them, they returned to the same position as they had been before." And Allah the Exalted and Glorious revealed this verse: "So wait for the day when the heaven brings a clear smoke enveloping people. This is a grievous torment on the day when we seize them with the most violent seizing. Surely we shall exact retribution." And this seizing implied Battle of Badr. Abdullah said that 5 signs have become things of the past and have proved the truth of the Holy Prophet. Enveloping by the smoke, inevitable punishment to the Meccans of Badr, to the Meccans at Badr. The victory of Rome, violent seizing of the Meccans at Badr, and the splitting up of the moon. This hadith has been narrated on the authority of Amas with the same chain of transmitters. Ubay bin Ka'b reported that the words of Allah, the Exalted and Glorious, "We will surely make them taste the lesser punishment before the severer punishment, that happily they may return," XXXII 21, imply the torments of the world, the victory of Rome, seizing of the Meccans, or smoke, and Shalba was in doubt about seizing or smoke. Chapter 8. The Splitting of the Moon. Abu Ma'mar reported on the authority of Abdullah that the moon was split up during the lifetime by Allah's Messenger in 2 parts, and Allah's Messenger said, "Bear testimony to this." This hadith has been transmitted on the authority of Abdullah bin Masud, who said, "We were along with Allah's Messenger at Mina. That moon was split up into 2. One of its parts was behind the mountain, and the other one was on this side of the mountain." Allah's Messenger, may peace be upon him, they said to us, "Bear witness to this." Abdullah bin Masud reported that the moon was split up in two parts during the lifetime of Allah's Messenger. The mountain covered one of its parts, and one part of it was above the mountain, and Allah's Messenger said, "Bear witness to this." Another chain of transmitters reported the like of this hadith. This hadith has been transmitted on the authority of Shuba with a slight variation of wording. Anas reported that the people of Mecca demanded from Allah's Messenger that he should show them some signs, miracles, and he showed twice the splitting of the moon. This hadith has been narrated on the authority of Anas through another chain of transmitters. Anas reported that the moon was split up in two parts, and in the hadith recorded in Abu Dawud the words are, "The moon was split up into two parts during the life of Allah's Messenger." Ibn Abbas reported that the moon was split up during the lifetime of Allah's Messenger, may peace be upon him. Chapter 9. The Disbelievers. Abu Musa reported that Allah's Messenger said, "There is none to show more patience at listening to the most irksome things than Allah, the Exalted and Glorious. Partnership is associated to him, polytheism and fatherhood of a child is attributed to him. But in spite of this, he protects them, people, and provides them sustenance." This hadith has been transmitted on the authority of Abu Musa with a slight variation of wording. Abdullah bin Qais reported from Allah's Messenger that none is more forbearing in listening to the most irksome things than Allah the Exalted. They associate rivals with him, attribute sonhood to him, but despite of this, he provides them sustenance, grant them safety, confers upon them so many things. Chapter 10. The Disbeliever Seeking Ransom with an Earthful of Gold. Anas bin Malik reported Allah's Messenger as saying, "Allah the Exalted and High would say to one who shall have to undergo the least torture on the day of resurrection, would you like to go as ransom if you had all worldly riches?" He would say, "Yes." Allah would say to him, "When you were in the loins of Adam, I demanded from you something easier than this, that you should not associate anything with me." The narrator says, "I think you also said, I would not cause you to enter hellfire, but you defied and attributed divinity to others besides me." This hadith has been narrated on the authority of Anas bin Malik through another chain of transmitters, but with a slight variation of wording, and the words are, "I shall cause him to enter hell." The words subsequent to these have not been mentioned. Anas bin Malik reported that Allah's Messenger, may peace be on him, said, It will be said to the non-believers on the day of resurrection, if you were to possess gold filling the whole earth, would you like to secure your freedom by paying that? He would say yes. Thereupon it will be said to him, something easier than this was demanded from you, but you paid no heed to it. Anas reported this hadith through another chain of transmitters, and the words are, it will be said to him, you have told a lie. What had been demanded from you was quite easier than this, the belief in the oneness of Allah. Chapter 11. The disbeliever will be driven upon his face. Anas bin Malik reported that a person said, Allah's Messenger, how the non-believers be made to assemble on the day of resurrection by crawling on their faces. Thereupon he said, Is he who is powerful to make them walk on their feet not powerful enough to make them crawl upon their faces on the day of resurrection? Qatada said, Of course it is so. He adjured by the might of our Lord. Chapter 12. The most affluent of people in this world will be dipped in the fire, and the most destitute will be dipped in paradise. Anas bin Malik reported that Allah's Messenger said that one amongst the denizens of hell, who had led a life of ease and plenty amongst the people of the world, will be made to dip in fire only once on the day of resurrection, and then it will be said to him, O son of Adam, did you find any comfort? Did you happen to get any material blessing? He would say, By Allah, no, my Lord. And then that person from amongst the persons of the world be brought, who had led the most miserable life in the world, from amongst the inmates of paradise, and he would be made to dip once in paradise, and it would be said to him, O son of Adam, did you face any hardship, or had any distress fallen to your lot? And he would say, By Allah, no, O my Lord, never did I face any hardship or experience any distress. Chapter 13. The believer is rewarded for his good deeds in this world and in the hereafter, and the disbeliever is rewarded for his good deeds in this world. Anas bin Malik reported that Allah's Messenger said, Verily, Allah does not treat a believer unjustly in regard to his virtues. He would confer upon him his blessing in this world and would give him reward in the hereafter. And as regards a non-believer, he will be made to taste the reward of virtue in this world, what he has done for himself, so much that when it would be the hereafter, he would find no virtue for which he should be rewarded. Anas bin Malik reported that Allah's Messenger thus told him, When a non-believer does good, he is made to taste its reward in this world, and so far as the believer is concerned, Allah stores the reward of his virtues for the hereafter, and provides him sustenance in accordance with his obedience to him. This hadith has been narrated on the authority of Anas bin Malik through another chain of transmitters. Chapter 14. The believer is like a plant, and the hypocrite and the disbeliever are like cedars. Abu Huraira reported Allah's Messenger as saying, The similitude of a believer is that of a standing crop, which the air continues to toss from one side to another. In the same way, a believer always receives the strokes of misfortune. The similitude of a hypocrite is that of a cypress tree, which does not move until it is uprooted. This hadith has been narrated on the authority of Sudi with the same chain of transmitters, but with a slight variation of wording. Ka'b reported that Allah's Messenger said that the similitude of a believer is that of a standing crop in a field which is shaken by wind, and then it comes to its original position, but it stands at its roots. The similitude of a non-believer is that of a cypress tree, which stands on its roots and nothing shakes it, but it is uprooted with one violent stroke. Ka'b bin Malik reported on the authority of his father that the similitude of a believer is that of a standing crop. The wind sometimes shakes it and sometimes raises it up, and then it comes to its destined end. And the similitude of a hypocrite is that of a cypress tree, which is not affected by anything, but is uprooted once for all. This hadith has been narrated through a couple of other chains of transmitters, one which says the similitude of the disbeliever instead, and another which agrees with the wording of the previous hadith. This hadith has been narrated on the authority of Ibn Ka'b through another chain of transmitters, but with the similitude of the disbeliever is that of a cypress tree. Chapter 15. The likeness of the believer is that of a date palm. Abdullah bin Umar reported that Allah's Messenger said, "There is a tree amongst trees, the leaves of which do not wither, and that is like a Muslim. Tell me which that tree can be." The people began to think of the trees of the forest. Abdullah said, "I thought that it could be the date palm tree, but I felt hesitant to say that." The companions then said, "Allah's Messenger, kindly tell us which that can be." Thereupon he said, "It is the date palm tree." I made a mention of that to Umar, whereupon he said, "Had you said that it meant the date palm tree, the statement of yours would have been dearer to me than such and such things." Ibn Umar reported that Allah's Messenger one day said to his companions, "Tell me about a tree which has resemblance with a believer." The people began to mention different trees of the forest. Ibn Umar said, "It was instilled in my mind or in my heart, and it stuck therein that it implied the date palm tree. I made up my mind to make a mention of that, but could not do that because of the presence of the elderly people there." When there was a hush amongst them after they had expressed their views, Allah's Messenger said, "It is the date palm tree." Mujahid said, "I have had the privilege of accompanying the Ibn Umar up to Medina, but I did not hear him narrate anything from Allah's Messenger except one hadith. And he said, we were in the presence of Allah's Messenger, that there was brought to him the kernel of a date." The rest of the hadith is the same. Mujahid reported, "I heard Ibn Umar as saying, there was brought to Allah's Messenger the kernel." The rest of the hadith is style same. Ibn Umar reported, "We were in the company of Allah's Messenger, that he said, tell me of a tree which has resemblance to a Muslim, and the leaves of which do not wither." Ibrahim said that perhaps Imam Muslim had stated like this, "It constantly bears fruit, but I have however seen it does not bear fruit constantly." Ibn Umar said, "It crossed my mind that it should be the date palm tree, but as I saw Abu Bakr and Umar observe silence, I did not deem it fit that I should speak or I should say something." Umar said, "Had you said so, it would have been dearer to me than such and such thing." Chapter 16. The mischief of the shaitan, and how he sends his troops to tempt people, and with every person there is a qarin, companion from among the jinn. Jabir reported, "I heard Allah's Apostle as saying, verily the Satan has lost all hopes that the worshippers would ever worship him in the peninsula of Arabia, but he is hopeful that he would sow the seed of dissension amongst them." This hadith has been narrated on the authority of Amos with the same chain of transmitters. Jabir reported, I heard Allah's Messenger, may peace be upon him, as saying, the throne of Iblis is upon the ocean, and he sends detachments to different parts in order to put people to trial, and the most important figure in his eyes is one who is most notorious in sowing the seed of dissension. Jabir reported that Allah's Messenger said, Iblis places his throne upon water, he then sends detachments for creating dissension. The nearer to him in rank are those who are most notorious in creating dissension. One of them comes and says, I did so and so, and he says, you have done nothing. Then one amongst them comes and says, I did not spare so and so until I sowed the seed of discord between a husband and a wife. The Satan goes near him and says, you have done well. Amos said, he then embraces him. Jabir reported that Allah's apostle, may peace be upon him, said, the Satan sends detachments of his own in order to put people to trial, and the highest in rank in his eyes is one who is most notorious in sowing the seed of dissension. Abdullah bin Masud reported that Allah's Messenger said, there is none amongst you with whom is not an attaché from amongst the jinn, devil. They, the companions, said, Allah's Messenger, with you too? Thereupon he said, yes, but Allah helps me against him, and so I am safe from his hand, and he does not command me but for good. This hadith has been narrated on the authority of Mansir, with the same chain of transmitters, but with a slight variation of wording. Aisha, the wife of Allah's Apostle, reported that one day Allah's Messenger came out of her apartment during the night and she felt jealous. Then he came and he saw me in what agitated state of mind I was, he said. Aisha, what has happened to you? Do you feel jealous? Thereupon she said, how can it be that a woman like me should not feel jealous in regard to a husband like you? Thereupon Allah's Messenger said, it was your devil who had come to you. And she said, Allah's Messenger, is there along with me a devil? He said, yes. I said, is the devil attached to everyone? He said, yes. Aisha again said, Allah's Messenger, is it with you also? He said, yes, but my Lord has helped me against him, and as such I am absolutely safe from his mischief. Chapter 17. No one will enter paradise by virtue of his deeds, rather by the mercy of Allah. Exalted is he. Abu Huraira reported Allah's Messenger as saying, none amongst you would attain salvation purely because of his deeds. A person said, Allah's Messenger, even you? Thereupon he said, yes, not even I, except that Allah wraps me in mercy. But you should act with moderation. This hadith has been transmitted on the authority of Bukair bi al-Ashaj, with a slight variation of wording. Abu Huraira reported Allah's Messenger as saying, there is none whose deeds alone would entitle him to get into paradise. It was said to him, and Allah's Messenger, not even you? Thereupon he said, not even I, but that my Lord wraps me in mercy. Abu Huraira reported Allah's Messenger as saying, there is none amongst you whose deeds alone would attain salvation for him. They, the companions, said, Allah's Messenger, not even you? He, the Holy Prophet, said, not even I, but that Allah wraps me in mercy, and he grants me pardon. Ibn Abd pointed towards his head with his hand, saying, not even I, but that Allah wraps me in his forgiveness and mercy. Abu Huraira reported Allah's Messenger as saying, There is none whose deeds alone can secure salvation for him. They said, Allah's messenger, not even you? Thereupon he said, not even I, but that the mercy of Allah should take hold of me. Abu Huraira reported Allah's messenger as saying, none amongst you can get into paradise by virtue of his deeds alone. They said, Allah's messenger, not even you? Thereupon he said, not even I, but that Allah should wrap me in his grace and mercy. Abu Huraira reported Allah's messenger as saying, observe moderation in deeds, and if it is not possible, try to be near moderation, and understand that none amongst you can attain salvation because of his deeds alone. They said, Allah's messenger, not even you? Thereupon he said, not even I, but that Allah should wrap me in his mercy and grace. This hadith has been narrated on the authority of Jabir through another chain of transmitters. A hadith like this has been narrated on the authority of Amas through two other chains of transmitters. The wording is, however, the same. This hadith has been narrated on the authority of Abu Huraira through another chain of transmitters, with this addition, give them glad tidings. Jabir reported, I heard Allah's apostle as saying, none of you would get into paradise because of his good deeds alone, and he would not be rescued from fire, not even I, but because of the mercy of Allah. Aisha, the wife of Allah's apostle, reported that Allah's messenger used to say, observe moderation in doing deeds. And if you fail to observe it perfectly, try to do as much as you can do to live up to this ideal of moderation. And be happy, for none would be able to get into paradise because of his deeds alone. They, the companions of the Holy Prophet, said, Allah's messenger, not even you? Thereupon he said, not even I, but that Allah wraps me in his mercy, and bear this in mind, that the deed loved most by Allah is one which is done constantly, even though it is small. This hadith has been narrated on the authority of Musa b. Uqba with the same chain of transmitters, and he did not make a mention of be happy. Chapter 18. Doing a lot of good deeds and striving hard in worship. Mughira b. Shuba reported that Allah's apostle worshipped so much that his feet were swollen. It was said to him, why do you undergo so much hardship despite the fact that Allah has pardoned for you your earlier and later sins? Thereupon he said, may I not prove myself to be a grateful servant of Allah? This hadith has been transmitted on the authority of Mughira b. Shuba, and the words are, Allah's apostle kept standing in prayer for such long hours that his feet were swollen. They, his companions, said, verily Allah has pardoned for thee the earlier and the later of thine sins. Thereupon he said, should I not prove myself to be a grateful servant of Allah? Aisha reported that when Allah's messenger occupied himself in prayer, he observed such a long qiyam, posture of standing in prayer, that his feet were swollen. Aisha said, Allah's messenger, you do this in spite of the fact that your earlier and later sins have been pardoned for you. Thereupon he said, Aisha, should I not prove myself to be a thanksgiving servant of Allah? Chapter 19. Moderation in preaching. Shaqiq reported, we were sitting at the door of Abdullah bin Masud, waiting for him to come out and deliver a sermon to us. It was at this time that there happened to pass by us Yazid bin Muawiyah and Nakai. We said, inform him, Abdullah bin Masud, of our presence here. He went in, and Abdullah bin Masud lost no time in coming out to us and said, "I was informed of your presence here, but nothing hindered me to come out to you, but the fact that I did not like to bore you by stuffing your minds with sermons, as Allah's Messenger did not deliver us sermon on certain days, fearing that it might prove to be boring for us." This hadith has been narrated on the authority of Abdullah through other chains of transmitters. Shaqiq bin Wil reported that Abdullah used to give us sermon on every Thursday. A person said, "Abu Abd al-Rahman, we love your talk, and so we yearn to listen to you, and earnestly desire that you should deliver us lecture every day." Thereupon he said, "There is nothing to hinder me in giving you talk every day but the fact that you may be bored. Allah's Messenger did not deliver sermons on certain days, fearing that we might be bored."